Welcome to the 49ers Camelot Show. It is the day after a big division win over the Los Angeles Rams for the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to get into some observations. What I like to do is while I'm in the midst of the game, I like to write down just things that jump out to me. So typically when I'm doing my observations piece for 49ers Web Zone, I don't go back and watch the game. I just go off of what I initially felt and wrote while the game was going on. So, in doing so, I kind of get like uh, just like the initial emotion of it. Now, I try not to be emotional in my observations because I want to be I want to be fair to the situation and fair to the players and things like that. And I don't want to be like overreacting to anything, but I like to be in the midst of how I felt in the moment. And so when I do these observation pieces, that's basically what I'm doing. So I want to go through those today. In case you haven't heard, Saquon Barkley has a regular ankle sprain, so it's not a high ankle sprain, but he is expected to be sidelined for 3 weeks, which means he will not be playing for the Giants against the 49ers on Thursday night. So hate to hear that. That is an advantage for the 49ers, but still it'd be nice to have him on the field. You want to beat every team at their best and not just having to play backups, even though, hey, Josh, what's up? Josh in the chat wrote, we're going to see Breida. Yeah. So it'd be nice to see Matt Breida. But definitely he's a downgrade from Saquon Barkley. And Bebop, what's up? He said, woo, woo, go Niners. Yeah. Great win yesterday. A lot of fun watching it. It was close. I mean, that was not the funnest game at times, especially when the 49ers were on defense. The 49ers offense was really good, but the 49ers defense in the first half was they were not up to their usual ways. So they turned it on in the second half, but I'm going to get into some of that. So let's jump into the observations. I called this article and then for 49ers Web Zone and then this video, 49ers keep SoFi their house. And so I think that was clear. This guy, Brian, that I had on on my show leading up to the game, I think I had him I had him on Thursday of last week. And so I asked him, hey, who do you think is going to have more fans at the game? Is it going to be the 49ers? Is it going to be the Rams? And he said, it's going to be 50-50. And so he was wrong. It was more like 70-30 at least. It may have even been worse than that. Yeah, 2-0 on the road feels good. It's good to get off to a 2-0 start anytime, but especially the way it is. It's funny, I turned on before I went to work this morning. I turned on Get Up on ESPN, and I don't watch that show very often, but just on the off chance they were going to say something about the 49ers, I turned it on, and of course they didn't. All they wanted to talk about after talking about the Jets, because Mike Greenberg is a Jets fan. So after they talked about the Jets and what to do there with the quarterback, then they spent some time talking about how Dallas is the best team in the NFL. And so they're really good. And I'm not, I hope that the 49ers don't meet the Cowboys in the playoffs. I know they play them in the regular season, but they're going to be a tough out. So hopefully Dallas and Philly will beat up on each other enough that the 49ers won't have to really mess with them. Yeah, Josh is right. It's all Cowboys. It is that way, man. It's so aggravating. It used to be all Cowboys and all Tom Brady, whoever he played for. But now that Brady's retired, it's definitely all Cowboys. Bryant, what's up? Good to have you in here, my man. All right, let's get into these observations. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. I'm not feeling great today, and I'm losing my voice, I feel like. So I may have to do sign language, and I don't know how to do sign language. So, all right, so let's get in. Here's my first one. The 49ers offense seems to always start quickly under Brock Purdy. The opening drive was efficient, and so was Brock Purdy. He was 6 for 6 on that drive. So Brock Purdy started out real well and looked like he was going to do some really special things. I'm going to talk about him more here in a little bit, but great start for Brock Purdy. That offense was really dynamic right off the bat. They moved the ball with ease, and so that was pretty cool to see. The next thing I wrote was Christian McCaffrey is so special. 80 yards rushing in the first quarter is pretty good. He finished with 116 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. So, man, McCaffrey is such a difference maker, and whenever he's on the field, man, it really messes with the other team. Whether McCaffrey gets the ball or not, it's like he comes on the field, and what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to be able just to double team Debo, put one guy on Ayuk, one guy on Kittle, and then not even have to really mess with the running back, because most running backs in the NFL aren't really receivers out of the backfield. So when McCaffrey's on the field, you're guarding against the run, and then when they do drop back to pass, you've got to pay attention to that running back, or he'll beat you just as bad as those receivers will. And so, yeah, that's man, crazy. Bryant says, happy Victory Monday, everyone. And Jason, what's up, Jason? Good to see you in here. All right, here's my third one, man. Jake Moody, money. What? I don't know how you guys felt about the third-round pick being used on a kicker. I wasn't entirely against it. It was a little higher than I would prefer, but I think that we saw that he wouldn't have got to him, like in the 5th round or wherever. They were going to have to pick him in that 3rd round, or they weren't going to get him. And if he's the guy, if he's the one that you think is going to be special, go ahead and get him. But the rookie kicker is perfect through his first 2 NFL games. What did he hit? A 56-yarder? Was that? I think it was a 56-yarder. Second longest field goal in 49ers history. The only one longer was the David Akers 63-yard field goal in 2012 or 2013. So crazy that this rookie is doing this already, especially the way that he looked in the preseason. So Josh in the chat wrote, Kyle showed confidence in Moody when he attempted that 57-yarder. So was it a 57? Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 56 or 57. I knew it was one of the two. But yeah, he's showing a lot of confidence in him. And we wondered, is the fact that Robbie Gould's gone and they now have a rookie kicker, is that going to make Kyle go for it more? But hey, so far that hasn't been the case, man. So far he's really he's been spot on. Yeah, like he hasn't missed. And so that's been crazy. Bryant said that he has a Moody jersey. Very nice. And definitely Jake Moody's better than Nick Moody. Remember him? He was that linebacker for the 49ers. He wasn't any good, but we all know Bryant. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, man. Keep rocking that Jake Moody jersey. My next thing that I wrote down was Brandon Ayuk's injured shoulder is a little concerning, especially with the Thursday night game looming. He kept playing, but you could tell he wasn't quite right. And so Kyle Shanahan met with the media today. He hit on the Ayuk injury because the players were off today. They didn't evaluate any further, so he didn't have anything else to report. Who knows if he's going to be available Thursday night? I would say that if it's iffy, Don't risk it. You want to keep him healthy for the season. So if he doesn't play Thursday, then he basically is getting 2 weeks almost to rest that shoulder. I mean, I guess it would be 2 weeks because they played Sunday and then they don't play until 2 Sundays after that once they're finished with the week 3 or with the week 3 game on Thursday night. So Bryant in the chat said Moody put up 12 points. Crazy, isn't it? I mean, he's a weapon. And then when he's kicking off, when he doesn't kick the ball out of bounds like he did early in the first quarter, he's a weapon. So let's see what did Bryant say. I predicted the Jake Moody pick live during the draft on my YouTube channel. Nice work. That is pretty cool. So, and then Jake Moody has scored 24 on the season. So yeah, he's been a weapon so far. Josh wrote in the chat, the Cardinals stole Quantrez Knight off the practice squad. Yeah, that stinks. They put Buda Baker on IR and snatched up Quantrez Knight, which sounds like they've been really interested in him for a while. And they've already taken some 49ers players. Let's see, who have they taken? I think I saw this just a minute ago. They took a couple of 49ers. I don't remember who was, like a couple of offensive linemen or something like that. Ilm Manning, I think, was one of them. So yeah, they definitely like the 49ers that don't make the team. Bryant says he's going to be at the game Thursday night. Very good. Yell, make a lot of noise, man. Yeah, Ilm Manning was one of them. I don't remember who the other one was, though, right offhand. Bryant asked, do you think Ayuk is hurt? Yeah, he wasn't right. He still played, but you could tell that sometimes that arm was a little droopy. And when he was on the sideline, they were working on him a lot. But I don't know. It kind of depends on what Josh says. It's a stinger and that he's going to play. So yeah, if it's something like that, then I would say he probably will. But if it's anything that he could make worse, then I don't think he'll play, especially on a short turnaround like this. All right, let's jump back in here. I wrote this during the first half or toward the end of the first half or some point. Did the 49ers leave their defense at Pittsburgh? It sure looked like it in the first half. I just couldn't believe how poorly they were playing. But man, the Rams, Stafford was sharp in that first half. They were getting the ball out so fast. They were in rhythm, and Puka Nacua was unstoppable. So they just they played really well in the first half, and the 49ers defense did not play well. They weren't getting pressure on Stafford, but things turned around in the second half. We'll talk about that here in a second. Here's another thing that I wrote down, kind of goes along with that. Note to self, bad things happen when you let the other quarterback get into rhythm and stay in rhythm. Matthew Stafford was excellent in the first half, and Puka Nacua was brilliant the entire game. So, yeah, man, Josh said our zone was crap. It was, man. It just was not that they were playing the soft zone, and it just wasn't working. Worked in Pittsburgh, whatever they were doing there, but not everything's going to work in, 1 week. What you're going to do is going to work well, and the next week it may not work well. And so I like the fact that they adjusted and that they made some halftime adjustments there. The next thing I wrote was, remember when the 49ers defense carried the team? I mean, we remember that when the 49ers offense wasn't that great, and now it's changed. The 49ers offense is actually yesterday carried the team. They don't win this game without the 49ers offense. And so, you could still say that in the Pittsburgh game, the defense carried the day. Definitely yesterday, the 49ers offense carried the day. And that's what you want, man. You want a defense that can get you wins on its own, and you want an offense that can do the same thing. And that's a huge advantage for this team for sure. Randy is with us now. Randy, what's up? Good to see you. Um, Now, here's the thing, and I want to hear what you have to say about this. Um, the next thing I wrote was the offensive line was great on Sunday. Aaron Donald had zero impact. So I've seen that some have said, based off of PFF grades, that Spencer Burford actually had a zero grade from PFF, but I saw that I think it was Brad Graham tweeted in response to that a clip that showed Spencer Burford doing a really good job of letting one blocker go and then picking up a blocker that had come around on his side. And he said, "Look, this is a great play. How can you have a zero pass protection grade when you make a really good play like this?" And so I don't like it. He had Aaron Donald on him probably more than anybody else had Aaron Donald. And so for Aaron Donald to make no impact, that tells me that he wasn't terrible. I mean, yeah, he probably wasn't good, but he wasn't terrible, because to get a zero, that's you probably must not be doing very well. And Josh wrote in the chat he wasn't good, but I don't know how he got a zero. Yeah, I don't know either, and I just think that I don't put a whole lot into. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. What Josh wrote in here, they had Warner the worst scored defensive player for the 49ers a week ago, so that's why I don't put a whole lot of stock into PFF. I know a lot of people do, and I usually look and see what they have, but a lot of times I completely disagree, because I think, all right, so if you're blocking Aaron Donald and he had no impact, how's your grade so terrible? Or in Fred Warner's case, if you took over the game in Pittsburgh, how are you the lowest rated defensive player? So I don't understand that. And then Nick Bosa was the highest graded defensive player for the 49ers last week and this week. But last week, I didn't think that Bosa was that great in Pittsburgh, but whatever. Okay, let's see. Here's the next thing. The preseason tells us nothing about the regular season. Case in point, Ambry Thomas. He wasn't good yet again. But remember when in the preseason, he was so much improved, and he was really climbing the ladder. But just seems like whenever he's in the game, the other team goes after him immediately. And so I don't like when Ambry Thomas enters the game. It makes me nervous. I don't mean to pick on him. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but man, I just I don't feel comfortable when he's in. To me, I think that Isaiah Oliver played well, and that's my next thing on here. Along the same line, I take back what I said about Isaiah Oliver. I was pretty hard on him during the preseason. He looked terrible in the preseason, but so far has played well in the regular season. And he made a huge impact in the game against the Rams. He made a couple of really big plays, one on third down, and then there was the interception. So Isaiah Oliver, this was a good game for him. Now, is he going to be great as a nickel corner against some of those quicker, shiftier type receivers? I don't know, but he played well yesterday. So Randy said in the chat, I've had faith in Oliver and the O-line. Yeah, and hey, they didn't disappoint yesterday. Bryant said Stafford didn't go deep once. Yeah, he was just dinking and dunking, just the underneath stuff. And I think that was their game plan. We're going to get the ball out quick, which isn't going to give them a whole lot of time to go deep. And so that was kind of their strategy. Randy said, I hope Swilling works out. Yeah, this is Trey Swilling. Was brought up from the practice squad over the weekend. And the son of Pat Swilling, the great linebacker for the New Orleans Saints back in the 80s. Pat Swilling gave the 49ers trouble. Even though back in the 80s and early 90s, the 49ers beat the Saints often. that defense that the Saints had back in those days gave them problems. And so even whether it was Montana or Young, um, it was hard playing those guys. They were tough. They had 4 linebackers and Pat Swilling, Ricky Jackson. Gosh, I can't think of who the other. Vaughn was one of them. Who's the other guy? He played for the Panthers. Sam Mills. They were great, man. They had 4 linebackers, and I think that Vic Fangio was their defensive coordinator back then. So that was those were some really good defenses, and so now we have Pat Swilling's kid on the team, and that's pretty cool. Let's see what I have next here. Purdy was off on some of his passes, especially the deep ones. This wasn't his best game, but he still led the offense to 30 points. So if this was Brock Purdy's worst game, and I think that it probably was so far, and if that's the case, then that's I mean, we'll take that. If this is a bad game for Brock Purdy, then man. Oh yeah, this is right, Jason. Yeah, this is right. Jason in the chat wrote the Dome Patrol Saints D was intense. Yeah, I forgot they called them that. Those guys were so good. The Dome Patrol, and they had Bobby. This guy that was their quarterback was named Bobby Hebert, and he was just this Cajun guy who from southern Louisiana, and he was kind of Brock Purdy like. He had a lot less physical skills than most quarterbacks in the NFL, but the dude would win. I mean, he was feisty and he would win games, and sometimes he would beat the 49ers as a New Orleans Saint quarterback, and that was crazy because this was not long after those the years when we all called them the Aints and their fans wore bags on their heads. Those were funny days, man. All right. So let's see. Nick Bosa was held a lot in this game. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. He did draw a couple of holding penalties, but Bosa was double teamed. He was held a lot, and he was. I saw this earlier that he was double teamed at a, like 37% or something like that is what I read earlier today. And so even though Bosa didn't get a lot of snaps or a lot of stats, he still made an impact. I had a guy, because I'm already working on the 49ers Web Zone mailbag, and had a guy that I'm responding to. He kind of ripped Nick Bosa and said, all this money and he's not doing anything, but he is doing things. I mean, he's making an impact, even though he's not getting the stats that we're used to him getting. So let's see. Randy asked, doesn't he do college commentary? You're talking about Bobby Hebert? Yeah, he does. I know that he does sports talk radio in New Orleans. Sometimes they'll have him on KNBR when the 49ers are going to be playing the Saints. So I know that he does that. Jason said that Bobby Hebert talked like from King of the Hill. Yeah, it's that Cajun accent, man. I went to college with a guy from New Orleans, and as a kid, just a college kid, I was working in our school had this little restaurant kind of thing after hours kind of thing. So like, you had your food in the cafeteria, and then later in the evening you could come back to this little thing, and we'd serve hamburgers and fries. And so this Cajun guy named Roy, he and I were both working it. And one night he goes, "Hey, Mark, we got any more mayonnaise?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Do we have any more mayonnaise?" And I'm like, "What in the world is he saying?" And I said, "What in the world's a mayonnaise?" And he goes, "Mayonnaise, that white stuff you put on the hamburgers." And I said, "You mean mayonnaise?" And he goes, "That's what I said, mayonnaise." And so I was like, "Yes, Roy, we have mayonnaise." but I just liked that Cajun accent. It's funny. That's how Bobby Abear sounds. Steve Wilkes. Let's talk about Steve Wilkes. He made a halftime adjustment and brought more blitzes. So this worked. This was the first time that Steve Wilkes had to do this, because um, in Pittsburgh they dominated the whole game and they built this big lead. And so he really didn't have to make much of an adjustment. He just kind of played that soft coverage, and so here in this game, the soft coverage wasn't working. So he had to make an adjustment. So they played less of that soft zone in the second half. They blitzed more. They got after Matthew Stafford more. And that made a big difference, because Stafford is one that when you really get after him, he'll throw you some balls. He'll make some mistakes, and he did exactly that. Now, one of the interceptions went off the running back's hands, so that's not really on Stafford. But yeah, they definitely changed things up, and so I really was happy to see the way that Steve Wilkes came out of halftime and responded, because they were getting cooked, and it was not looking good for the 49ers defense. But the way that he came out, I think that's really huge. So Randy said, "Mama said mayonnaise is magic waves of sunshine that taste good." Yeah, but you have to say it mayonnaise if you're going to be saying. Yeah, a little shout out there, right? Brian said Chuck Norris, Texas Ranger. What the heck? Where does that come from? I must have missed something in the chat. Oh, I see this now. Yeah, so all right. Next thing, Juwan Jennings always comes up big against the Rams. I mean, look back to that game in 2021, the last game of the season, when they had to win in Inglewood to beat the Rams to get into the playoffs, and they did that. Juwan Jennings had a big game that day, because remember they went down early. I don't remember if they were down like 21-0 or 24-0 at halftime or something like that, and they came back in the second half, tied it, went into overtime, and then won it. And Juwan Jennings was a big part of that. So love me some Juwan, and he's so good at making guys mad. The next thing I wrote down was, so does Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is a Rams killer. He always comes up big in Rams games, and so many times he was all that the 49ers had. And now they have McCaffrey. Now they have Ayuk playing the way that he's playing. And so this is so big for the 49ers. Diamador Lenore has become a really good corner. He sealed the win for the 49ers in week 2. So I know that he went out. He was in the blue medical tent for a while, being observed for concussion, tested negative for that. So he was able to come back into the game, played well, made a big interception that really impacted the game. So I don't like when he's inside. Not only does that mean that Ambry Thomas is in the game, which I don't like, but I just think that Diamador Lenore is a really good corner on the outside. He's not as good on the inside. And so I hope that they can get this nickel situation figured out so that Lenore can stay on the outside, because I think that's where he's at his best. And I just wonder, if Darrell Luter Jr., if maybe when he comes back from his injury, if they might try him out there at that point. I guess it kind of depends on Isaiah Oliver. My concern with Isaiah Oliver is that he's bigger, and so when they play some of those speedier, shiftier slot receivers, is he going to be able to stay with them? I'm a little concerned about that. So Randy asks, anyone notice if Bell is getting open when he's out there? Hard to notice him during live game. I have not noticed that. I know that he's played in both games. He played more this game because Ayuk was hurt, and so Bell came in and played more, but I have not noticed that. Bryant said Bell was blocking a lot. Yeah, I did hear that he had some nice blocks on Sunday. I didn't notice him blocking either, but So today, Kyle Shanahan, when he met with the media, he addressed this whole thing about Christian McCaffrey play, because yesterday McCaffrey played all of the 49ers offensive snaps. Elijah Mitchell never touched the field. Jordan Mason never touched the field. And so Shanahan hit on this today, and he actually um, said that he's got to do better at making sure he's in the game. So here's what he said. Let's see, I wrote this down. Okay, Kyle Shanahan today said, yeah, we definitely got to get Elijah in there more and do better with our rotation than we did yesterday. That wasn't the plan going in with McCaffrey playing all the snaps. It just ended up that way. I got to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm not sure who handles the running back rotation. It's going to either be Bobby Turner or Anthony Lynn. I would guess it's Bobby Turner, but I don't know that for sure. And so Shanahan made sure that that he confessed that it was on him to figure it out, and that he should have noticed that Mitchell hadn't played and that McCaffrey had logged all of the plays. And so he said that he's got to do better at that. And he also mentioned, that with this Thursday night game being a quick turnaround, you have to think about those things, because as much as McCaffrey played Sunday with a short week, and now they play Thursday night, he's not going to be able to play the same amount or same percentage type of plays. He's going to have to get some relief. So Elijah Mitchell, I think that you can expect to see Mitchell play a lot Thursday night. Maybe Mason gets in there as well, but for sure they're going to have to give McCaffrey some relief. And I just think they're going to have to be careful with that, because we saw how he was last year. There was a point that we didn't even know if he was going to play in the NFC Championship game because of an injury. So they've got to keep him healthy, because ultimately they need him for some of those big games. So McCaffrey's going to play on Thursday. He'll play a lot, but I think that we'll see a lot more of Elijah Mitchell than we have. Randy said Thursday is a lot more interesting after the tough game from the Rams and the comeback from the Giants. I was really hoping that the Giants were going to go into overtime. It almost happened. They almost went into overtime with the Cardinals, and that would have been a big advantage for the 49ers. If they would have gone into overtime and had to play like an extra several minutes, that would have been a big advantage for the 49ers. Not to mention they're going to have to fly cross country from East Coast to West Coast. So, but yeah, it is going to be an interesting game, and they're going to have to make sure they don't let Daniel Jones beat them with his legs, because he can do some damage on the ground. So let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to jump in here and talk about. I wanted to mention this because, like I said, I'm doing this mailbag already, and somebody asked me about these how gambling affected the end of the game last night, about Sean McVay's decision to kick a field goal with 4 seconds left. The game's decided, and my first thought, because I was with Anthony Robertson doing a live during the game on the PSF app, and like when this happened, my first thought was, man, he's really got, like, Sean McVay must have a big ego or something, because he does not want to have Kyle Shanahan beat him by double digits. And so then a lot of people start talking about how this is a gambling thing, and that it's a point spread issue. And so I don't know. It's hard to know. If we could hook him up to a polygraph, I kind of doubt it had anything to do with point spread. It could be that he just thought, hey, maybe we have a chance to kick the field goal, have a second left, do an onside kick, and maybe something miraculous happens. But I still thought it was kind of stupid and petty, but I probably in the same situation want my coach to try something like that. But so yeah, that was the other thing that I was wanting to mention. That's all that I have for today. Appreciate you watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you hit that like button and then go subscribe to the 49ers Camelot Show. If you're listening somewhere, whether it's Odyssey or Spotify or Apple or wherever, make sure that you rate, review, and follow the show. So we want to try and reach as many 49ers fans as we can. So thanks so much for watching, and thanks for those that were in the chat talking it up today. It's been a lot of fun.